So yeah, we both went to college in Las Cruces, New Mexico, at New Mexico State University, and go Aggies. So anyway, I thought that was kind of fun. So we know what fall weather looks like. Okay, just warning, what it's supposed to look like. Yes, unlike Texas, that's just hot all the time. Okay, so Cassie. Okay, Cassie Tinsmon is a campaign finance industry veteran with 17 years of compliance experience spanning fundraising, lobbying, political organizing, and policy research. She joined Evans and Katz in 2008 and rose to vice president of compliance and operations. And in 2023, she purchased and relaunched the firm as Katz Compliance LLC. Based in Wichita, Kansas, Cassie helps candidates and committees of all sizes, like mine, um, navigate complex financial regulations while homeschooling her two children with her husband. So let's give a round of applause to Andrew Cates and Cassie Tinsmon. They will be presenting today on compliance and legal and all those little things that are, irritating, but you need to know about. So take it away.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? All right. Okay, so I've only done this presentation on Zoom, so this is my first time doing it in person, so you'll have to bear with me, but I will probably fly through my part relatively quickly, and then Andrew's gonna go through the nitty-gritty of the law. The part I'm gonna cover is more how we train various clients of ours in thinking about compliance and what sort of things to look out for, not necessarily the laws themselves. So one of the goals we hope you learn is a shared language of compliance. This often gets really confusing, especially when you're talking between federal and non-federal, hard money, soft money, all of those different things that people refer to with a different language, and they all mean the same things oftentimes. And so we're going to anything with money will involve some sort of compliance reporting, but also things like anything of value, in-kind contributions, um, political expenditures, and things like that to watch out for that might trigger different filings. Similarly, hopefully this will help you increase your confidence a little bit. There's a lot of people that are scared of compliance, and it is a little bit scary. I feel like that every day. But it is there for a reason to hopefully produce fair elections. I left myself saying that. And hope people feel prepared to navigate some of these rules a little bit on their own, but also know that there are professionals out there that do this both at the local level and the federal level. And it's becoming more and more important to get into to hire those people because there is so much money involved, even at the local level. Here's some of the words that we were talking about, but hard money and soft money, what can be used for various activities. I think they were talking about this a little bit over lunch with the party and how they have three different buckets, which is often how we have to think of it for our clients too, is they have buckets of money that can be used for giving contributions, buckets of money that can be used for independent expenditures, and the source of those funds can be very different. And so how you track that is very important in developing the systems before you start, hopefully, raising and spending money. Many have assistant treasurers as well, even though it's not often required, but it is a good practice to always have a second person. If something happens to the first person, we'll talk about a little bit of that, of succession planning and why it's important, because we have seen it all. Campaign manager is often the one doing the budget, works closely with the compliance team to make sure that their goals, both their fundraising goals, are being met and that their spending is being kept within the budget. Or if it's not, where that money needs to come from. It's either you got to raise more, or you got to take it from another bucket of your spending. The finance director is often the one that is working with compliance to gather the necessary information. So when we talk about donor information, verifying that it's permissible funds, verifying that you have the correct, address, occupation, employer, those little things that are required depending on where you're reporting. Me, compliance consultant, and Andy, the attorney, depending on the budget. It is definitely not necessary in a lot of races, but if you can find somebody to be able to ask questions to, I've also found that honestly, calling the state can sometimes be very helpful. And depending on where you are in what state, they know a lot and are very useful in giving you the correct information. I would just always be careful that it's not in writing and they're telling you something over the phone. And so to second guess or see if they can reference to where it states that in their website or handbook. So you have that as backup. And then a succession plan. I've been doing this for 17 years. We've had treasurers pass away. We have had treasurers go to jail. We have had treasurers for various other reasons disappear, and it becomes a nightmare. Yeah, getting access to bank accounts, getting access to various softwares, if they're required to do wet signatures in certain places. I mean, it can take years to untangle things, and we've been a part of that. New York is one state very specifically that a treasurer cannot resign if you don't have their signature. So if you have not talked to that person in 10 years and they're still listed as treasurer, yeah, so make sure you're planning for that in the beginning when you're setting things up. And if you're already set up in the middle of things, make sure you make it a priority because it is very important, especially with 2FA, everything's online, those types of things. These are the various systems that we often use with our clients. The bank, and the bank does matter. It doesn't have to necessarily be a large national bank, and in fact, some of those can be the hardest to work with. Local banks can be good, but they also may not have a great online platform. They may not be able to wire money late. They may require you to go into the bank to wire money. They may require wet signatures. So again, if you're trying to change accounts and somebody's out of town, or we work with clients all over the country. I live in Kansas, and I can guarantee you none of my clients are in Kansas, and the banks in Kansas are not the same as the banks that are in DC. And so being able to do things digitally with a bank and having a customer service person that you can reach out to is really, really vital.
I will just say in Texas, never use Chase or Wells Fargo. Never use them. Don't do it.
Yeah, Wells Fargo is one they wanted me to go in and wire the money. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Luckily, there is a branch in Kansas. But those little things matter when you're talking about very quick turnaround times on a campaign. Then password manager. This is also very important. Again, keeping things secure. Hacking, the AI stuff, all of that. Keeping a Google Doc with your passwords is not best practice anymore. It allows people to share them. We use 1Password as a company. It has been a learning curve to implement it with my staff, but it has also been a lifesaver many a times when somebody's out, and you can also attach it to a 2FA method. And so you can get into the accounts when needed. Accounting softwares, we use mostly QuickBooks. It isn't necessary for a small race, but QuickBooks also has a pared down version that's like $10 a month. So I would encourage people to use it. This is what you use to reconcile to the bank. And but you can also use a simple spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet register. Reporting software, oftentimes for progressives, that's NGP Van. I'm sure everybody's heard of that. It's and obviously has the field program, but there are other options out there that are more affordable now. But NGP Van has been around for a long time doing this kind of work. It allows you to file reports. I guess in Texas, it's not directly from the system, but you can run queries, run reports, things like that a lot better to get the data to have good integrity as opposed to just importing into the TEC system. And then tracking spreadsheets. So that could be the budget. This is more relevant for PACs doing independent expenditures, but tracking constantly the activity is important. I'm going to talk a little bit about reconciliations because Andrew said he is not going to talk about it at all. But always, always, always reconcile to the bank. Your report should be a snapshot of what is happening in the bank. And if those numbers don't match when you're filing your report, you need to be able to justify why those numbers don't match. So your total contributions in should equal your total receipts in the bank for that time period. Disbursements should report them, should equal, and then your ending cash on hand should equal. There are a handful of times that they won't be the same because, as we mentioned up there, you have what's called deposits and transits and outstanding checks. So your deposits in transit are money that you received before the close of the period but don't get deposited, and outstanding checks are just what they sound like, even though nobody really writes checks very much anymore. And I would say, if at all possible, do not write checks. The banks we work with don't want people writing checks. The fraud is insane right now. ACH, wire transfers, bill.com, all of those things are much better for doing disbursements. And then you don't also have to track outstanding checks either. Let me just see what. There it goes. Okay, so a little bit about the terminology that I talked about. All of these things are different items. They mean the same things, but they're called different things. Credit in the bank account, receipts on your report, incoming money, contributions, disbursements, debits. You have a profit and loss statement in QuickBooks that's going to be your money in and money out, and your ending balance, cash on hand, bank balance. All of those things are the same, but people refer to them differently. And so here it is. Basically, your bank balance at the end of the month should equal your, I'm going to make sure I say this right. You have reportable activity, but not in the bank, which is what I talked about as a deposit in transit. So stuff that is reportable for the period, but not in the bank yet. And then disbursements that are reportable for that period that are not in the bank yet, outstanding checks, and should be your available cash on hand at the end of the month. So like I said, if that number on the FEC or on the TEC or FEC report is not the exact same as your bank balance, you should be able to show why. Here we go. And so these are the things that we often see that are different, cause the differences. And it's kind of, I mean, when you talk about buckets, so there's activity that happens in both the report, campaign finance report, and in the bank. And there's activity that does not happen in the bank, but is reportable. I think I might have said that wrong. But here's a list of things. So like bounced checks, in or out account transfers, things like that may or may not get reported. They may or may not have hit the bank. And credit card fees can make things really tricky for everybody who uses ActBlue. They net out the deposits. I think it's the same for Texas. Now I'm rethinking that. They do.
Yeah, so the reporting on that is also annoying, especially with ActBlue and really any software that you would use. You report all of the money of the contribution, and then you also report as an expenditure the amount that ActBlue takes out of each contribution.
Yep.
So it's a huge pain in the ass, just so everyone knows. Also on this, that stuff that's not actually reflected in the bank or really on the report either are pledges of contributions.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you right now, don't take pledges. It is a stupid pain in the ass that you have to report as a pledge until you get the money in, and then you report it as an actual contribution. Pledges don't mean anything. They're nothing. They're just somebody saying, I promise I'm going to give you something at some point in time. Great. Put that money in my hand and then we'll talk. Just for reporting's sake, that you're going to screw up, just don't take pledges. Yeah. I'll just say that.
I forgot about that with Texas. That's a very specific Texas thing. And I think, it went too far. Okay, do's and don'ts. These are all things that we have seen. So be very careful with hiring friends and family for staff. I don't know if Texas specifically has laws, but I know the FEC has, not laws, regulations. Okay, regarding hiring family specifically, how they can be paid, what they can be paid, all of those things. So be very careful, on top of the fact that they may not be the best qualified to do the job, especially if it's compliance. If you don't know something, find somebody to ask. It is never good to guess your way through legal or compliance, especially in the world that we live in the scrutiny that Texas specifically is under. Don't leave it to volunteers. We're fighting with a client right now about this, that they think that they can have the volunteer do the work, and so far it has not proven well for them. Yeah, don't ever commingle personal funds and campaign funds. Even from the beginning, get an EIN, get a bank account before you get any money, or just don't ever deposit money. It does happen. Accidents happen. If you figure out that it happens, somebody used a wrong debit card, a check gets deposited incorrectly, you got to talk to somebody to figure out the best way to fix it. And the important thing is move the money as quickly as possible, and then you decide how to fix it on the reporting side. Let's see, optics matter. Because something is legal does not mean that you should do it. It's important to be thinking about what it will show up in the news. I feel like there was something about makeup and makeup artist or candidate buying clothes, or George Santos. I was listening to his podcast on Tucker Carlson, I think in July. It was entertaining. Some of the stuff he did was legal. Some of the stuff he did was, it just looks really bad, even if you can justify a reason for paying for it. People are giving you your money. Don't use it on frivolous things. Always reconcile to the bank. If you can afford it, hire a compliance firm, get counsel, and plan for the unexpected. That, like I mentioned earlier, we have seen it all over the years with treasurers, and it can be a really big nightmare if you don't have access to the proper systems, and trying to fix that situation is just a headache that nobody wants to deal with in the middle of a campaign.
They will talk about your conflicts of interest, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's due in February. Have fun. Contribution limits in Texas, we don't really have any overall at the state level. At the judicial level, there are some. Nobody in here is running for judicial, so I'm going to skip that. For the cities, there are varying contribution limits depending on the city. I think, Austin is probably up to like 450 or so by now. Houston's got a little bit of some. San Antonio's got some. Counties, any of y'all running for county? Dude, it's the Wild West. Go nuts. Counties are crazy. There are no lobbying restrictions. There's barely any oversight. Oh my God, you could be so corrupt. So anyway, yeah, counties are crazy. Cities have some. State doesn't have any whatsoever. Take all the money you want. Federal, I know some people in here are running for federal. I didn't put it on here, but it is currently $3,500 per person per election. Primary and general are both separate elections, so that's about $7,000 total per year per person. Per couple, but per couple, it would be 14, whatever. You can figure it out. Multi-candidate PACs can give federal candidates up to $5,000 per person per group per election, but that's pretty much it for the federal side. Do's and don'ts. You have got to collect information from everybody. Do not pass the hat at any event ever. You've got to collect all of this information for every penny that you receive from everyone. Okay, I mean, you can read it. I'm not going to read it all out loud, but that is something you have to collect from everybody. One of the biggest pains in reporting right now, and I'm going to mention, funny enough, I didn't realize you were going to be here, but I'm going to mention your old boss twice in this presentation. Judith Zaffirini, state senator, passed a law a few sessions ago at this point that literally everyone hates. And she's a Democrat. Everyone hates this law. You have to fully report all of this information for every contribution you get, including digital contributions, no matter how much it is, all the way down to a penny, which means every single contribution you get in from Act Blue or whatever, if it's $1, it's going on individually, every single person all the way down. It used to be like if it's below $50 or $90, you can just aggregate them all together and just report the sum. You got to do this for every single person now. These reports are ridiculously long now. I mean, I've got a PAC report for one state PAC that is 70 pages every time they report. Beto and Abbott both broke the Ethics Commission website because their freaking reports were 100,000 pages long because they got in tiny little contributions over and over and over again, and it literally broke the website. But whatever, we have to do it, so you got to do it. Okay, no contributions from corporations or labor unions. You cannot take the money if it comes in as a check, which hopefully you don't get checks because checks are stupid. But if you get a check, if you get a contribution in and it says, blah, 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 operating account, kick it back immediately. I don't care who it is. Operating account never means anything good for a candidate. If it has, corporate, Inc., whatever on it, you got to send it back. If it has LLC on it, technically you can take contributions from LLCs as long as the only people that are owners or shareholders or members or whatever of that LLC, as long as they're both individuals. If there is any corporate ownership whatsoever within that LLC, it's considered corporate and you can't take the money. That just means if you get an LLC donation in, you got to call them, you got to ask them, how are you set up? Do you have any corporate partners? If no, okay, cool, we'll take it. If you do, kick it back. Somebody individually cut me a check. No contributions from foreign nationals, no contributions in the Capitol. God, I want to tell this story. Do I have time? Screw it. I'll do it anyway. So the reason this law came about, no contributions inside the Capitol, is literally the freaking chicken guy, Bo Pilgrim. Back in the day, Bo Pilgrim came to the floor of the Senate, and it was like a workers' comp or labor union or some kind of bill like that he didn't want his workers to have any extra, benefits or something. And so he walked around on the Senate floor dropping $5,000 checks on desks on the Senate floor. Skipped one person because he didn't like them, and then kept going. And they got real pissy about that. The press did not love it. So they passed the rule. You can't take money inside the Capitol or inside a courthouse. So, there's that. No anonymous. Like I said, you got to collect all that information. You can't just pass the hat around. This is not church. You got to get information from everybody. Cash, no more than $100 per person. You can't use it to purchase real property. I don't know why that exists. That's a weird one. And then personal use is the single most opined on subject by the Texas Ethics Commission. There are, Nancy mentioned I pulled this book together. It was forever ago. I really wrote it just so that I could have everything in one place and then started selling it. There are, the book is 8.5 by 11 and it's like 550 pages long or something. There are 14 to 15 separate pages just of opinions on personal use of contributions in that book. It is, everybody asks about it. There are so many rules around it. So let's run through it real quick. Some of the most frequent questions on personal use of contributions. So family members on campaigns. Yes, you can pay your family members to work on your campaign, but they damn well better do something real. You cannot just pay them to be around and be a pretty face. You can pay for them to come to events, to fundraisers, if you have them wherever in the district and y'all need to drive, fly, or whatever. You can pay for them to come, but they cannot just be there to glad hand and be nice to the donors and that sort of thing. They got to work the door. They got to work a table. They've got to do something real. And look, a lot of this, okay, all right, let's get real. What I usually tell people when they ask me, can I do this, is I don't know. What's your risk tolerance? If your risk tolerance is high, do whatever the hell you want. You might get caught. You might not. If you do, there's going to be a complaint and there's going to be really bad press. And if you care about having bad press and if you care about having a complaint against you, then yeah, do it right. If you don't and you've got a big freaking multi-billionaire sugar daddy, do whatever the hell you want. They'll bail you out. They'll pay for all the fines. They'll pay for the court costs and you'll be fine. So, when it's, can I pay for this? Can I pay for these people? People are going to be scrutinizing every single thing you do as a candidate. And they're going to scrutinize everybody you associate with, your whole family, everybody. So if you're worried about how that's going to look with you bringing your family member there, well, then you better do it right, and you better make sure that they are actually working hard, and then you can at least say that it's defensible, right? Campaign car. You can purchase or lease a car with campaign funds for use for your campaign. If you end up using it at all for personal purposes, you have to pay your campaign back for that personal use of the campaign car. Flip it. Your personal vehicle can be used for campaign purposes. Any of the time that it is used for campaign purposes, the campaign can pay you back for the use of your personal vehicle. So it just depends on how you want to do it. Car tinting, I'll get to that. Professional clothes, okay? You can use your campaign account, your campaign money, to pay for swag for your campaign. Obviously, shirts, hats, whatever. You cannot buy a suit. You cannot use your campaign money for dry cleaning purposes. I don't know why they draw the line at it. They do. I've seen people come to the ethics commission and say, "Hey, look, dude, I'm a farmer. I don't own suits. I just got elected. I need to buy a slate of suits and get dry cleaning, and these are all expenses I wouldn't have had previously." And they're like, "Sorry, sucker, that sucks for you." I don't know why, but that's the rule. But the new-ish rule that, or kind of test that the Ethics Commission has come up with on some of these personal use questions is, would you have had to had that expense but for the fact that you're running for office? These last two are the examples of that: childcare expenses and home security. Childcare, if you wouldn't have had to have childcare paid for, but for the fact that you're now going around doing block walking in the afternoon, your kiddo comes home, there's nobody home, you got to pay for a babysitter or a nanny or childcare, or the mortgage your damn house to put them in actual childcare. I lobbied for childcare for a little bit. I got a chip. Sorry. Then that's something that you can use your campaign funds to pay for now. Same with home security. Look, this shit is real dangerous out there right now, y'all, and I don't think I have to even explain why. If you are scared at all, honestly, even if you're not, just say that you are. Put some security up on your house. There's one opinion on this at the Texas Ethics Commission. I think there's one at the federal level as well, and they just kind of copy pasted from the federals and the feds on this. And it was, I think it was a judge that was worried about security and all that, and they asked this whole list of questions of things they wanted to do to their house, and they basically gave them a blank check. Said, do whatever you want. That includes bars on the windows, barred front door, separated front door, gates across the driveway, all kinds of stuff. Security system. You can go a little deep with that, with like personalized bodyguards that follow you around and whatever. Tinting on your car, I don't know. Try it. Whatever. What are they going to do? Say no and okay, I'll pay it back. My car's tinted now. But I mean, you can say that that's for personal security very easily. I don't want anybody to be able to see in there and take a shot. Cool. Tint your windows. So anyway, that's some examples. That's not all the examples, obviously, but that's some of them. Mistakes. All right. I may have said this later, I don't know, but the number one way to get in trouble is to just forget to file your report. I'm serious. It's usually so banal and dumb. I just forgot. I was late by a couple of minutes even. A couple of minutes late is $500 fine. 12:02, 12:01 is $500 fine. I will tell you, if you get most of the time, people don't hire me on the front end because they don't have any money to start out with their campaign. They usually hire me when they're already deep into shit and they forgot to file reports, and oh my god, now I have a complaint and I've got a fine at the Ethics Commission. What do I do? Even then, when I come in, look, the Ethics Commission, generally speaking, is very chill. The commissioners are very understanding. They're very nice. They have worked very hard to be a kinder, gentler ethics commission. They've gotten a lot of shit that they don't deserve. And I know I'm a little bit of an apologist for them, but they work really hard and they get shit on a lot when they don't deserve to. That said, the staff only has so far that they can negotiate on your fines. They have a floor and they have a ceiling. If you don't like it, you don't have to take the recommended fine amount that the staff asks for. You can go to a hearing in front of the Texas Ethics Commission and plead your case. And every single time that I have done that with a client, they've gotten it reduced or dismissed entirely. So I'm not going to say you can do whatever you want. You use your risk tolerance. But if you do end up with that fine, if you do end up with that complaint, there's almost always a way that you can get it reduced or waived if you're nice and you're contrite and you don't make too much trouble for them in that. So that's my spiel on that. Oh yeah. Another big way that people get in trouble here is when they lose, they just assume they're done. You are not done. You are not done by a long shot. You have to account for every dollar that is in that bank account until it is gone. And you have a lot of different ways that you can get rid of that money. You can give it back to people, which is a huge pain in the ass, trying to track them down and figure out who gets what. You can give it over to other candidates. You can give it to the party. You can give it to charity. And you can give it to an institution of higher education for a named scholarship if you wanted to do that. So there are lots of ways you can get rid of the money. But if you lose and you still have that bank account open with money in it, you are not done filing reports and you will get fines if you don't. Fundraising. Okay, here's a big way that people get sideways. It's usually political action committees, but you cannot do a raffle as a fundraiser. It is gambling and it is illegal. There are charities out there that can do raffles, and that's when you see them usually out there. It's a charity, a 501c3 charity that is doing a raffle. You are not a charity. You cannot do a raffle. So you can do all kinds of other stuff. There are lots of ways to do fundraisers. There are lots of ways to do fun games to do fundraisers. There are ways to even get around this raffle requirement that I'm not even going to tell you right now. You can do casino nights, you can do poker tournaments, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff, but it's got to follow a certain kind of, formula, and you can't, whatever. Don't screw it up. Come ask me if you think you're going to screw it up. Again, no contributions to corporations, no anonymous, silent auctions in the fundraising kind of area. Silent auctions are always okay. You can always do silent auctions. You do have to figure out ways to report the auction items as they come in versus the money that is spent on them as a contribution to you. All that, it's complicated. It's also doable. Just call me and ask me. Social media. Okay. First of all, I'm going to skip to the second part. Before you ever announce, you had damn well better scrub the crap out of your social media profiles. Talk to your whole family, all your close friends, scrub their crap too, because it's all going to get tied back to you. And, look, so a colleague of mine who does kind of what I do, went in-house with Greg Abbott a while back. And he needed to get rid of all of his clients, and he was going to send them all to me, which in theory sounded great because he had all of the big statewides. In reality, I'm actually really glad none of them ended up with me because they're all terrible. And so, but I was like, all right, I'm going to get all these clients. I'm going to make a bunch of money. It's going to be great. 2 days later, I got a call from that guy who was trying to send his clients over to me. And he was like, did you not lock your Twitter down? What the hell, Andy? And I was like, whoa, calm down. What happened? One of these dipshit Republicans. How widely is this being broadcast? All right, word. One of these dipshit Republican lawmakers went deep into my Twitter, and I had scrubbed it very well, went deep into my Twitter and found some offhand comment I made about Trump well before he ever ran for office and was like, this guy's a damn Democrat and blah, blah, blah. I've been blackballed from the Republican Party ever since. I'm serious. I haven't gotten to see. Yeah, I mean, I'm not crying very hard. My bank account cries a little, but yeah, I mean, I got blackballed immediately. So, I mean, if that tiny little stupid thing is going to hit me, I mean, anything could be made, waves over a candidate. So just make sure you scrub everything. The other thing is that on your social profiles, once you start using a social media profile to talk about anything official within a campaign or within an elected office, you can no longer block anyone on that social media site. So, and there have been court cases about it. Basically, they're saying that, online social media in the comments section, especially, is kind of the new town square where people can go and they can voice their concerns to their legislators, their elected officials, blah, 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 First Amendment, redress of the government, all that. It's that. And so my advice is keep personal, keep campaign, keep in office, have different social media profiles for each, unless you just don't care. And then at that case, you just can't block anybody ever. Okay. Even if they are making all kinds of salacious comments on the comments section, you can't block them. If they're making threats, go to the FBI, go to the police, whatever. They'll get them taken care of on that end, but you can't block them. And last time I'm going to mention your boss again is on staff and volunteers. Be very careful, vet the people that you're going to hire into your campaigns very, very well, because they will be associated with you and vice versa forever. This random clip or whatever, I'm not going to play it, but this screenshot over here of this article was a former intern of Senator Zaffarini's from like a decade prior to this even coming out, that they went crazy and they killed a bunch of people. And it got tied back to the senator because they had once worked there a decade ago. And they're going to use you as a name to tie anything else to down the road to make a better headline, right? So former intern of Andy Cates, got a DWI last night. And I'm like, dude, I haven't talked to this person in 15 years. What are you talking about? They'll use it to drive the headline and drive engagement. So just know that, vet everybody very, very well, because it's always going to be tied back to you. Anything else? Complaints? Boop. Yeah, complaints can be filed by anyone. They frequently are. There are let's call them watchdogs, I guess, that scrape all of these filed reports for errors. They just want to keep everybody honest. They want transparency, whatever. It is a great and democratic thing that it exists until it happens to you, and then you cuss them out under your breath. So just know that there's going to be people that are going through it and that are going through your reports to find errors. They can be filed by anyone out there. They cannot be made anonymously. So there's that. They got to have a name on it. But you should never, if you get a complaint filed against you, never, ever, ever believe that the person whose name is on there as the complainant is actually the person behind it. They always find a straw man to, like, who lives in that district. Okay, let's get so and so to file this complaint. I guarantee it's written by a professional, and it was flagged by somebody who doesn't like you in the first place. It's never John Doe over here who actually filed the complaint. That is a straw man. They don't know you. They don't even care. They were set up. So, the complaint processes for city and county races vary by the jurisdiction. I was talking to, I can't say who. But I was talking to somebody a little while ago over text who got a complaint, and I read about it in I read about it in the paper, and I was like, "Hey, what the hell? You didn't call me. Everybody who gets a complaint calls me. That if I know them, you have to call me because I know how to do this." The issue is that especially city ethics commissions, like the Austin Ethics Review Commission, San Antonio Ethics Review Board. I think Houston has one. Dallas maybe has one. How about this? Before I talk too much shit, has anybody served on one of those before? No? Anybody know anybody who's currently serving on them? No? Good. They're trash. They're such trash. I hate them. Because, no, I'll tell you so much more how I feel. They're trash because, and it's not really their fault, but everybody who's on a local ethics review commission, board, whatever, is necessarily a political appointee because they are appointed by their city council person. Usually every city council person has an appointee. They're put on there by them, not because they know anything about the law that they're enforcing whatsoever. And every time that I've had a client go in front of one of these local ethics boards, they go wildly off topic and start talking about, oh, well, I know that you have this other property over there. And it's like, whoa, calm down. Stop talking to my client. What are you talking about here? This is about not filing on time. Why are you talking about their properties? So I have forbidden any of my clients to ever show up to these hearings ever again. I will show up in their place and I will take questions. And if I don't know the answer to that, I'll just say, I don't know what you're talking about, and keep them on track. So all that to say, if you get a complaint at a local jurisdiction, ethics board or whatever, don't go in cold. Don't just answer the complaint. Just, whatever, fuck it. If you don't have any money, just call me. I'll help you anyway. I don't care. I don't care. It's just that people get, especially these local ones, you get super wound up in tangential stuff, and you'll get in more trouble than you needed to because you said too much and you answered questions you shouldn't have answered and whatever. I should be done with that. Anything else? Yeah, that's my book. It's almost updated again. It's a big pain in my ass. All right. That's pretty much it. Does anybody have questions? Yes, ma'am. Yes, great question. Your $100 bribe will be in the mail. Yes, yeah, you can absolutely use campaign money to pay for compliance and legal at any time. Yeah, you can. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Two parts: donations in kind and stuff I do myself. So donations in kind, someone shoots a video for me, does graphic, or stuff I do myself. I built my own website. It's a skill I have.
Yeah, I mean, in kind is basically if anybody pays for something that you otherwise would have had to pay for as a campaign. So if somebody gives you anything, if it's they donate the event space for your fundraiser, they give the food for the fundraiser, they do your website for free, whatever. Just attach fair market value to it and report it as an in-kind contribution, and you're good to go. That's the end of it.
Okay.
Make sure that the person or whoever it is that is providing that in-kind contribution to you is not a corporation or any kind of corporate entity, because it's essentially the same as cash. So you'll still get in trouble for taking corporate money as an in-kind. But yeah, anything in-kinded, you just report the value of it and move on. If you don't know the value of it, just take a shot. I don't know. Just make up a number. If you think it's defensible, that it's close enough that, I mean, like, if it's an event space that's not usually rented out, what the hell is that? I mean, or a call list or something, somebody's list. No idea what the fair market value of that is. And it's really, really hard to guess and make one up. All they really want to do, all they really want at the Ethics Commission level is to know that you tried and you're not trying to BS them too much.
I will. Oh, I was going to say I will add for those running for Congress, the FEC has the in-home exemption that if you're hosting an event, is it 2,000? Do you remember offhand? Okay. If
We
somebody is
have
hosting an event for you in their home or like a community space in their neighborhood or something, they can spend up to, I think, $2,000 per person. So if it's a couple, it could be $4,000 for invites, catering, things like that. And it is not considered an in kind at the federal level. So they could then go on and double max to you. So you want to make sure that you're not including that as an in kind if they have the ability to then max to you. But if they don't have the monetary ability to max to you, then people do count it as an in kind because it inflates their contribution numbers.
And similarly, on the personal service question, in Texas law, at least, a personal service provided without charging isn't reportable at all. So if it's a personal service, like something that I would personally do, like volunteer, or I'm gonna, whatever, something like that, personal service is not reportable.
What about things using yourself? That I build my own website.
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on if you do that for a living. If you do it for a living and you charge people usually, then just in kind it to yourself and call it a day. If you don't, then just do it. You're fine. Yes, sir.
Is there more specific guidance for driving campaign events? What the per mile charge?
IRS. Yeah, whatever the IRS, 50, 68 something cents a mile or something like that now. Yeah, just it's either do gas receipts or mileage. Just don't do both. Don't double dip.
And make sure you're tracking it if you're doing mileage. Have
Yeah.
documentation.
Backside. Oh, gotcha. All right.
Okay.
I don't think it's on. I don't think it's on.
There we go. So I'm a county chair, and so I'd like to ask a county chair party question.
Shit. Okay. I'll try.
So
Where's Kendall?
what is the compliance for a county party to report to the TEC? As far as, there's large parties like Dallas, Austin, San Antonio.
Sure.
They have tremendous amounts of money and cash flow going through.
Yeah.
But smaller, like I'm a rural county, we don't have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are our reporting requirements?
Yeah, I mean, generally there's the semi-annuals. If you get in, I mean, kind of the general requirements are, it's semi-annual, July and January, mid-month, unless you get involved in a campaign, and then there's the 30-day out, 8-day out, and then dailies if you spend over a certain amount of money or you take in a certain amount of money. There are exceptions in there somewhere as to if you don't bring in more than X amount of money, then you can defer or have lower amounts that you have to report, stuff like that. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I could look it up. Yeah, sorry about that.
All right, over here.
Okay, so I have a question, and maybe the county chairs might be able to answer it better, or maybe you can. But if a county chair creates a PAC that has the same name as the county, can they do that without CEC approval? And then how is the donations tracked and accounted for without there being any conflicts there?
Okay.
Because it's happened in my county.
Whether or not they are allowed to do so without CEC approval, I don't know off the top of my head. That's more of a election process-ish question in different parts of the election code than campaign finance in terms of like county versus CEC authority. For the PAC setup, So I don't know on that one. I could look it up, but on the PAC side, I mean, it would just be a PAC. It would just be a normal PAC that just reports all the money in, all the money out. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, so Cassie's saying you at the federal level you can't have the same name as another committee, but if you don't have another PAC and it's just the county set up a PAC, then I mean, I think that would probably be fine. And really, at the end of the day, it would never get approved if it were too close in the first place, name wise. In name. Yeah, I mean, if the ethics commission approved it and it's set up, then it's good. It's good to go, name wise at least. It might piss you off, but it's up and moving.
Howdy. Let me start by saying this is not a question affiliated with any candidate or committee I've been affiliated with. But my question is, historically, folks will fabricate employer names on ethics and finance reports, like when they're putting it in on Act Blue, because they don't want the donation affiliated with their employer. If we know that to be the case, because it's something absurd on their reporting, or it's just something we know to not be true, are we obligated to do something about that, or does that fall on the donor?
Get them. Yeah. I don't think you're obligated to, but how do I say this without being mean? Yeah, just do it. Love it. But I mean, if it comes out at any point that was going on and you knew about it, well, then you're fucked. So you might as well anyway. You know, I mean, if you know about it and you can pull together enough evidence, like one or two is probably not going to cut it. If you can show a systematically, they're just making shit up on this report, and I can prove it. Like this one, they're all wrong, and the slightest bit of research would show that this is what they do, and they've been doing it for so long. Blah blah blah. Then yeah, I mean, I think you could pop them pretty easily on a complaint. If you're obligated to, I don't think so. But if you know and it comes out, well, then that's on. I mean, that's you. You know, that hits you.
You're still supposed to file that under whatever they have reported first, and then file a complaint, or you replace what they have filed it under with what you know to be.
Well, I mean, I guess, are you the treasurer?
If I were, say I were.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
not, but say
I mean, if you're the treasurer, okay. All right. Here's one other thing. The treasurer for a candidate campaign is there in place, and it has to exist, but the treasurer for a candidate campaign is not the person that is legally responsible for filing the reports. The candidate is. That is different, though, with a PAC. With a PAC, the campaign treasurer is the one that's legally responsible for filing the reports. So people feel like the treasurer of a campaign is legally responsible for doing all this stuff. You're not. The candidate is. And so, I mean, I don't know. If I'm the treasurer of this committee and I know very well that these people are just making up employers, I don't know. What do you out yourself? I mean, I guess you could go to the commission yourself, or you could just change the employers, but then you're probably going to get fired. So there's that too.
I mean, I would say at the FEC level, I mean, we see reports that are hundreds of thousands of pages long, and an odd number of people are donating that are not employed.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no way. I mean,
Retired.
yeah, retired.
Everybody's retired.
Yeah, and
Must
they
be nice.
somehow max out to a lot of candidates. I mean, there's no way we have the capacity to go and double check all of that. If there is somebody that we see that we know is maybe outdated, because a lot of my clients know their donors and I know maybe they've changed, or like, oh, I saw this guy actually is retired now and his software has the old information, we change it. If you had Jeff Bezos on your report and he said NA not employed, I would probably change it. I mean, I don't think if if there's a systematic problem that you know about that people are purposely like falsifying the information, I would be concerned, but I would not spend your time to go check every
Yeah.
donor and make sure their information is
Yeah,
correct.
you also might want to find a good reporter and go off the record person close to the campaign source and just blow them up. This is the rest of the day, right, Nancy? We're just going to keep doing this.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh, hey.
Hey, I have an FEC related question for congressional campaigns. So, it's kind of a two-part question. So, on paying yourself, I saw online that an FEC ruling not too long ago allowed candidates to pay themselves up to what they received in their previous job if it was less than what the salary is, I think $174,000. Is there any like burden of proof that you have to prove that you're actually doing the work to earn the money? Obviously, you're doing it as a candidate, but do you have to meet certain thresholds to actually pay yourself? And also, my second question is expenses before you finally announce. I saw some places say that you can get reimbursed once your campaign is filed and official for like planning committee or private. And then I saw certain sources that say you shouldn't really do that because that can be very easily challenged. So I was wondering if you have any insights.
You're looking at me. I am not the expert on my team on candidate committees, but
Damn it,
in
Cassie.
terms
I was banking on you for this one.
Yes, there is an advisory opinion from the FEC. I think I'm paying it. I have not read it. I don't know if we've had a candidate actually do it, but there are, like, I think you mentioned the different stipulations that you have to meet. My understanding at the FEC level is unless there's like a specific complaint, like there is not something that you have to prove of what your previous salary was that I have ever seen. I mean, in general, like the FEC, you're providing documentation when they have a question and a reason to believe that something is reported incorrectly. On the second question, so you trigger filing with the FEC as a candidate when you raise or spend $5,000. However, you can explore a run for Congress. I read this every time somebody asks me. So if you have not committed to running to office and you have exploratory efforts, you can spend your own money and then be paid back for that, and it will need to go on the first campaign finance report. You do have the option to register with the FEC as an exploratory committee. We have also seen where they register with the IRS as a 527 as an exploratory committee. Does that answer your question enough?
Let's say yes.
Thank
Sorry,
Okay, go ahead.
real quick, one last thing, since you brought that up. In Texas, so there's a federal lawsuit between Ted Cruz and the FEC that went up to the Supreme Court about paying yourself back more than the limits that they set on how much you can pay yourself back from your campaign. He won. And so at the federal level, and I believe now at the state level, we still have it on the books in statute, but I just saw the agenda for the Ethics Commission meeting next week, and they're going to scrap all the rules that relate to it. So I have to believe it's because of this, that there's no limit. I'm just going to say it. There's no limit to how much you can pay yourself back from your campaign if you spend money, personal money, on your campaign. That being said, there is a tiny little box on the personal loan schedule of the report that says, I intend to be repaid from campaign funds for this money, for this expenditure. And if you check that box, then you can repay yourself from campaign funds. If you don't check that box, that money is gone forever. You absolutely can, if you can afford it, you absolutely can and should use your personal money to kickstart your campaign and get it going and be able to start paying stuff out and all that. But please, for my sake, later when you call and beg me to help, just check that box, because if you don't check that box, you can't even go back and amend it to say I meant to check the box. That money's gone. You will never get it back. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, so thank you very much. Can we have a round of applause for Andrew and Cassie? I think that was really informative. I think everybody learned a lot. I'm sure that they'll take your questions outside of the room. I'm really lucky. They're on the mothers team, and I think I just feel so lucky that we have such great experts on our team, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. I adore you both so much. I appreciate you both.